Finally, it's here, guys. Ronda Rousey makes her return after losing the title to Holly Holm by an incredible knockout loss. I'm here joined by my partner, my friend, Joe Bosch. Joe, what is happening, my brother?
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited. This is a great fight that they've put together. It's a good comeback fight for Ronda. It's a winnable fight for Ronda if she's been doing the right things. And we're going to have some questions answered.
Yep.
Where's her head at? Has her striking improved? Exactly what do we have in Amanda Nunes? Because, as everybody knows, since Ronda dropped the title, the 135-pound class has been playing hot potato with that belt. No one's been able to defend it. No one's been able to string some victories together. So who is Amanda Nunes? We're going to find out next week.
You know, that is totally true. And I'll tell you something, Joe. With Ronda, she was beaten by a really high-level boxer. And people talk about kickboxing and everything. She was beaten by boxing 101. That was footwork. Holly kept turning her and turning her. Ronda couldn't get set. She didn't know how to cut the cage off. She didn't keep her foot to the outside of that southpaw, and she ate lefts after lefts until she ate the left's kick, and it put her to sleep. And the big question is going to be for me, mentally, how does she recover after a knockout loss? Not just a knockout loss, Joe, a knockout loss on the biggest stage of all time for the UFC in Australia, and where it was over 80,000 people there. And Ronda's mental game, you know, the reason she is, people call her, you know, that she's not a good sportsman. She doesn't want to shake hands. She doesn't want to, listen, she has to make herself get into that frame of mind to compete. And will she have it mentally? She doesn't know how she's going to react when she gets hit. It doesn't matter what happens during practice and training. She has that same question that I do. What are you going to do when you get hit on the chin?
Yep, every fighter's different. Every fighter responds to a loss and a devastating knockout very differently. But the aura of invincibility that she had, it's gone once Holly Holm kicked her in the face. The women aren't in awe or scared of her anymore, and Amanda Nunes definitely isn't. She took out Miesha Tate. So is Ronda going to be able to angle out and use her clinch game? She wasn't able to utilize it against Holly. When someone's keeping you on the end of your punches, you can't hug them. You can't toss her.
And listen, another thing that people have to remember is that in that fight, even at the weigh-in, you've seen an extremely emotional, out-of-character Rousey. Who knows why? Could it be just the pressure, doing too much? I don't know. But I know in the cage, she was not able to catch Holly, and in the first round, I seen her more gassed than I've ever seen her, even after 3 rounds, or going into the 3rd round, I believe, with Miesha Tate. I thought it was 3 rounds, but I've never seen Ronda look that fatigued, that frustrated. And, you know, when you're going in, Amanda Nunes is a beast, but she's a pressure fighter. She comes forward. She wants to grind, and that's Ronda's game. So if Ronda, you know, is able to go back to what brought her here, use that clinch and her incredible armbar, I mean, don't you think that Nunes could be an opponent that would be, you know, perfect for her comeback, as opposed to a boxer?
It is. Amanda is susceptible to a lot of the things that Ronda does well. You know, you need to put pressure on Ronda, but it needs to be very calculated pressure. You can't rush in reckless against a clinch fighter or you're going to be tossed. The same way I can't rush in against Holly Holm because Holly's going to knock me out. I mean, you said it yourself. Ronda was very gassed at the end of that round. She was fighting very emotionally. And any good trainer is going to say, you can't fight anger. You're going to burn out your gas tank. You're so focused on hurting your opponent, you're not thinking about what they're going to do to you. And that's what I think both of them need to keep in mind. Ronda wants you to rush in. And Nunes needs to be patient.
You know what? I'm going to disagree with you, Joe, because I don't think Ronda wants anyone rushing in. Ronda wants to rush in. Ronda wants control. She comes forward with reckless abandon just to close that distance. And she eats shots in almost every fight coming forward. So the question for me is not is Ronda going to come forward? She's gonna. That's what she does. If she tries to box, she's in trouble. With Holly Holm, she tried not to rush Holly for that exact reason, and she was lost. She didn't know what to do out there with a boxer at distance. I mean, she looked like a rookie. If that's the first time I ever seen Ronda fight, I would be asking people, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
Not knowing what kind of an incredible athlete she really is. She was outclassed. You know, she did not get in her element. But with Nunes, if she comes forward, Nunes is coming forward too. I agree with you there. I think we're going to see two fighters that are going to clinch. Then the question is, who is better in the clinch? And
yeah, the answer is Ronda. She's better. It's without question. You don't get a bronze medal in judo and not be better than everyone in the world in the clinch. But in some of the fights that I've seen, the Alexis Davis fight and the Katz and Ghana fight, you saw girls rush in on Ronda and get tossed.
Yeah.
Those were examples where it was a terrible idea to get close to Ronda. But you are right that Ronda, she comes forward, sometimes way too recklessly.
Yeah.
She could learn to angle out and maybe start utilizing a single leg takedown to get you to the ground versus the clinch game. I mean,
change levels. She's gotta do something. And I agree with you. I agree with you totally, Joe, that I don't think Ronda really, I cannot picture Ronda starting out around at distance, throwing jabs and, throwing fakes and gauging her opponent, Anderson Silva style, right? And I don't see that. Ronda's not a finesse fighter in that way. Ronda's finesse and Ronda's skill is inside, in that clinch, on the ground, grappling, judo, and then, the armbar, which is her bread and butter. And Nunes could be the perfect opponent to give her the opportunity to get in her comfort zone, because her comfort zone is clinch, grapple. That's where she lives. That's how she got to this point.
right.
I think the worst thing happened to her, honestly, Joe, was when she knocked out Betch Correia.
Yeah, she suddenly the debate was, is she the best striker in that division? And anyone that knew who Holly Holm was knew that the answer was no.
Yep.
And if you look at Nunes' last fight with Tate, where it really became a grappling match, and all the ground and pound and things that were going on in that area, Ronda would have armbarred her several times over the course of that fight, because Misha doesn't have, with all due respect to Misha's an amazing fighter. She was a great champion, had a long storied career. Ronda can snatch that arm from anywhere, like no one else in the world, and that includes the men.
That's a fact. Technique beats, muscle and strength all day long. And that brings me to another point. Chris Cyborg finally is getting her due. She's got to the UFC, be it at a catch weight of 140. The UFC was ready to throw out the 145 division for Chris. The offers were out. I know she turned down some fights. And then we find out she tests positive again for a PED. Now, it doesn't matter what it was. The point is, she tests positive again. Her reputation, and she always complained about it, and I felt bad for her, Joe. I spoke to her. She told me she made a mistake in, I believe, 2011 when it was, and I really believe that she was not, taking the PEDs. And when I heard that maybe she got caught now, I said, well, it's just a diuretic. She's trying to cut to get to 140, but no, she didn't fight at 145 when she had the chance. Why would that be? Because maybe you can't deal with USADA?
It's interesting. Now my biggest MMA debate is who's pissed away more golden opportunities.
John Jones?
Or John Jones.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, that would have been her division to rule and just be running roughshod because she's already doing it in Invicta. No one else has come close so far. The whole matchup would have been very interesting, but
UFC was giving her that title. They were giving her the Ronda Rousey crown.
It would have been like the old pro wrestling days with the squash matches, because that's what a Cyborg fight is. It's like a Tyson fight. It's an execution.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it's an exhibition of extreme violence.
Yeah,
you know,
she's built different than the other girls. She hits harder than the other girls. So,
and hey, for the people that don't like her, I could say, well, obviously she does. She got caught using steroids. Now she just got caught again for a PED. But in reality, even without that, this was an elite athlete. This is an athlete that hit extremely hard. And she chose, especially now, Joe, this is the time she was getting recognized. She was getting the mantle handed to her, and she blew it. She blew it. What's going to happen with her? I mean, what do you see, happening with Chris?
I think she's going to wind up going that Vitor Belfort route where you're only going to really see her fighting in and around Brazil.
Yeah.
A big thing, Joe Rogan mentioned this last year on the podcast, and I thought it was really profound. He mentioned, like, if you've been on the juice for so long and suddenly you're off it, mentally it's going to mess with you because you're going to reach back for that power and strength, and it's not there anymore, and you know it. So what is she going to be like mentally if she's fighting clean? We saw Belfort was not the same guy when he couldn't reach back and knock everyone out with one shot.
You know what? I'm even more harsh with that because my philosophy on this is really simple. The second that you use PEDs, steroids for a fight, you're admitting to yourself mentally, I can't win this naturally. Yep. I need to use this drug to win. Once you make that decision, after that, it's over. Because if you don't have it, then what? And that's exactly the point. I just think it happens immediately. I think once you mentally make that decision, it's like quitting. If you're in a choke, once you decide I can't get out of the choke, you tap, you're over. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, I think that the sad part about it is that Chris Cyborg didn't need that. She was already big, already strong. She didn't need it.
Yeah, it's a shame. This really is the end of her career for a while. Hopefully she can rejuvenate it because you want to see every fighter do well, and it's great to have another women's division that they're trying to build up.
And she's entertaining.
She is entertaining. Yeah. Fights. People want to see high-profile knockouts and stuff like that. It has that little freak show element that people really enjoy. Yeah. Where she could have been a female Brock Lesnar, where that's the baddest woman on the planet, and now we could have the Ronda super fight and stuff.
That's right.
Now we're not going to get it, and the person to blame is her.
Well, for me, what blows my mind is I would assume that you would catch the older fighters using the steroids and the PEDs, right? Like Bernard Hopkins, BHop, who had his fight over the last week. And, listen, the guy at 49 was fighting Sergey Kovalev, was rocked bad early, made the whole 12 rounds at 49 years old. I was so impressed. Mm-hmm. And then one fight too many, in my opinion, Joe. He was not only knocked out, he was knocked out of the ring, and he did a lip stand out there. And for me, what made it really bad, and I respect the hell out of Bernard, is that he came out with a complaint and argued the fact that he was pushed and wasn't hit and knocked out. That was sad for me. It's a sad way to see him go out. I wish his people would have got a hold of him and, got him to shut up, because that was sad.
You want him to go out with as much dignity as possible. I mean, him and Joe Louis both ended their careers by getting knocked out of the ring. He's been boxing. He's been an amazing boxer since before I was born.
Yep.
He's been in the game forever, and you can see he fought clean till the end. He caught Joe Smith Jr. coming in a couple of times with some nice shots.
Yep.
You just see in their bodies that a 52-year-old man. He wasn't built the same way as this 26, 27-year-old kid. Joe Smith Jr., he knocks people out. He's a slow guy, comes forward, throws one or two shots, but they're heavy.
Heavy.
People out.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been able to catch Bernard in his prime. Bernard would have been dancing around and picking him apart. That was his game. And then he's not. It wasn't the same athlete anymore, and it's a shame.
It wasn't. And in my mind, I always picture either Felix Trinidad with Bernard, or the left hook to the liver with De La Hoya.
Yep.
And that just always pops in my mind with Bernard, even more than his mask and, the executioner, was his ability to find a way to win. And even more than that, I respect the fact he was able to fight so dirty in the clinch. He was so good at it that he didn't ever get caught. Mm. And to me, I respect the hell out of that, because it's a fight, man. It's a fight. Right. Yes.
If you can use the rules and stuff like that, and what the gray areas are, that's fine. Other people are mad just because they can't do it.
Are you breaking the rules if you don't get caught? That's one of those questions. I mean, hey, obviously, that's not legal, but you didn't get caught. You were able to do it. I love that about Bernard. I liked watching him get the young bucks and get him on the inside and just eat him up a little bit at a time.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah.
They said Father Time's undefeated, but with one draw against Bernard Hopkins. He just fought so late into his career, but you see the decline in the skill set. You saw it with Roy Jones Jr. You saw it with Bernard Hopkins. The only person that you didn't really see it in was Mayweather, but you can attribute that to a number of things: who his opponents were at the end, how he marketed himself, and also he's a super athlete.
His size. His size, Joe, to me. Roy Jones ended up going up. He fought heavyweight, right? And he come back down. Bernard, he stayed pretty. He got up to light, but he stayed pretty much the same. But Floyd, he kept his weight right there, and he moved up a little bit, but he was able to maintain that speed and that athleticism that got him through. And you're right, he quit when it was ready to quit. But you brought up a guy, Roy Jones Jr. Now, man, nothing but respect for Roy. I even enjoy his commentating. I think Roy's a good dude. He knows his sport. But he's coming back, and he's fought some guys, and no offense to them, I never heard of them. I wonder what the hell Roy's doing. But now he's going to fight the bare-knuckle boxing champion, Bobby Gunn. But he's going to do it with boxing gloves on. There's a big size difference in my mind. There's an age difference. There's definitely a difference in the punishment they've taken over the years. What do you see with that fight? Because right off the bat, if you don't know anything, you're going to say Roy Jones Jr. was one of the best boxers ever. He's going to tear this guy apart. If this guy is a bare-knuckle brawler, even though he was a cruiserweight champ in boxing, NABF, WBC, even though he was, Roy Jones will just destroy him. I don't know. What do you think?
It's tough. I wondered why when I heard about it from you, what's Roy doing?
Yeah.
And I think it's not necessarily Roy trying to prove something to us. He's one of the best ever. He doesn't have anything to prove. I think it's more Roy proving it to himself. Do I still have it? That's always what these comebacks are all about.
Yeah.
But the technique and his speed and stuff like that, certain fundamentals aren't gonna leave. I'd like to hear more about what the rules are going to be between the two of them and how things are going to be.
Straight boxing. If it was a bare knuckle match, I am going without hesitation, Bobby Gunn. Mm-hmm. Listen, bare knuckle fighting is a precision sport. You just can't throw punches at somebody's head. You break your hand. Yeah, and Bobby Gunn is beyond a doubt. Listen, he was the NABF. He was the cruiserweight champ. WBC. So he does box, but bare knuckle, man, he was really a killer. But Roy Jones in the ring as a boxer, even older, the guy's just still special. But his last fight I watched, and Joe, he did look as special.
Yeah.
He was catching punches that I was like, holy smoke, he's catching punches.
Roy's special, is he going to turn back the clock and just give us one more of that little bit of magic and just overwhelm Bobby?
Roy's special, is he going to turn back
one of those, like, he's gotten knocked down a couple of times, but Roy might just be looking at Bobby Gunn and just saying, not this time. You know what I mean? One last go around. I could probably see in a boxing match, Roy's going to, he's too quick.
Yeah, and that is the thing for me right there, Joe, is the fact that when I look at this fight, I know Bobby Gunn. Bobby has been nothing but a respectful man to me, and I give that respect back. He's very strong. He is in his prime with his strength. He's got everything to gain in this fight, man. If he's able to get in there and beat Roy Jones, the sport of bare knuckle boxing, the BKF, bare knuckle fight, that is going to blow up. Yes. So Bobby is not just carrying the weight of, I'm fighting Roy Jones Jr., Hall of Fame boxer, but I'm also carrying the future of the sport of bare knuckle boxing in the States, which I think there's no doubt this should be legal. I think it's the safest combat striking sport there is, because nobody is going to beat you upside the head with their hand. They're going to go clean shots. It's body shots. You drop, you drop. There's no knees, no kicks, just the hands. To me, it's a safer sport. They're all violent. You can get hurt in any of them, but I think it's safer. I want to see this fight, and I'll be honest, I want to see Bobby win. I want to see a BKF future for the fans like myself, like you, of combat, of boxing. I think it's the purest form of pugilism there is. Bare knuckle boxing, I'm all for it. I think we need to have it.
I think so too. I mean, I want to see BKF do well, but like you said, he's going to be throwing a lot of body shots and some of that. His style, he's had to cultivate it and change it over the years based on what he's been doing. So is he going to come out and be Bobby Gunn bare knuckle boxer? Or is he going to try and box classic boxing with Roy Jones Jr.? I hope he's going to employ the smartest strategy he can. He's not going to be able to outbox Roy. It's just Roy is special. So what's Bobby going to do? I mean, I'm excited to see it.
Well, for me, you watch a bare knuckle match and you see it's like chess. These guys aren't coming out throwing bombs. You're feinting, you're gauging your opponent, landing some body shots. Now you watch Roy's latest fights. Roy's in there doing the same thing, but with boxing gloves. He's not jumping on anybody, taking his time. He's catching shots to get a guy to come in. Yeah. That could be the end of Roy Jones, strictly based on the power and determination of Gunn. He has so much on the line.
So does Roy.
Roy does, and I wonder what the hell is his mindset, because his career is over. He's finished his career. He's not going to fight for a title. I mean,
right. It reminds me that James Toney, Randy Couture. I mean, the implications are very different. Where I don't think.
But still.
I get that little feeling where, both guys want to legitimize their sport. These are guys that, it's the twilight, but, none of us gave James a shot to beat Randy.
Let's be honest. James didn't give James a shot. Yeah. James Toney was getting $500,000 to jump in there and have Randy Couture ragdoll him and choke him out. And, hey, nothing but hats off to James Toney. He's the one that pocketed the money, and he brought the attention. I think this is a little bit different in the sense that Bobby Gunn has so much on the line, and he's going against a guy that is in the same sport, whether he's bare knuckle or not. He's still boxing, and it's going to be a contest that has a lot of implications in the future to the sport of bare knuckle boxing. And Roy Jones, to me, I don't see that he has much on the line. I mean, people have already kind of discredited, Roy a little bit from some of the fights he's had with people that aren't even televised. People don't even know about it. And so he enjoys fighting. He's got something to prove to himself, or he just loves fighting that much. But I'll tell you what, Bobby Gunn beats him. That's a huge statement for Bobby Gunn. That's a huge statement for bare knuckle boxing and the BKF. So I am, as a fan, I'm excited about it.
I am too. I'm curious to see what's happening. I'm sure we'll hear more about, why is Roy doing this? But Roy doesn't really, in the world of boxing, Roy doesn't need to answer to anybody.
No. He was one of he just was a natural athlete, a natural boxer.
In whatever sport he decided to pick up.
Yeah, exactly.
He has that John Jones athleticism where
Bo Jackson style, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. He's better than everybody at everything.
I totally agree. Hey, Ronda Rousey, she gonna win or lose?
I think she's gonna catch Amanda. I think she's gonna toss her. I think Amanda's not gonna be patient enough. But I want to see that rematch with Holm.
Yeah.
Give me that, Dana.
Yep.
All I want for Christmas is Ronda versus Holly.
Yep. And you know what? I'll tell you something, Joe. A lot of people are sleeping on Ronda. They're looking at her loss to Holly Holm. What they're not understanding is getting knocked out by a strike has nothing to do with your skill in grappling and your ground game, which is what got her there. She is the elite of the elite in women's MMA when it comes to her judo and it comes to her ground game. And that armbar, listen, everybody knew it. They could never stop it. I think Ronda got away from that. I think she got a lot going on, movies and this and that. She knocked out Betch, but Betch was standing still, and so it was like a heavy bag. I think she learned a big lesson with Holly Holm, that she doesn't have that skill. She needs to she's got to keep it in her skill set, which is the grappling, the ground game. I see Amanda Nunes coming forward and putting pressure on her. Either Amanda Nunes lands early and knocks her out, or Amanda Nunes is finished by an armbar on the ground. Now watch Rousey fool us all and knock her out with a lead right.
Then, maybe we're all wrong about Edmund and Jim.
No.
If Ronda comes out and tries boxing and it doesn't work, I'm going to kidnap her and drive her to AKA myself.
Listen, I agree. And Edmund, no, I'm definitely not underestimating it. Anything Ronda does is because Ronda did it. I no longer will give Edmund credit just because he didn't have Ronda Rousey set with Boxing 101. I feel terrible for Ronda for that. It was embarrassing. I think this is her fight to come back and show everybody. It's all between the ears in this fight. It's a mental fight for Ronda. We're going to see, how does she deal with getting hit, and is she going to blow that load of energy right off the bat from anticipation, from anxiety. She's not gone far in her fights. You got to remember, she finished all of her fights so early. She's never really gone deep and been tested. So that is going to be a question too. So I'm looking forward to the card. I'm looking forward to the fights. There's going to be some really good fights there.
But Dominic Cruz, all that ankle credit.
Listen, when you look at that fight, every fight with Cruz is, as a fan, you're gonna, if you don't understand the sport as much and you can't appreciate what he's doing, it's boring. Dom is cutting angles, running around, flipping his arms. You don't understand it. But I'm going to say something. Dominic Cruz and any fighter that fights that way, their bane is a power puncher, a guy that can hit you one time and put you to sleep. Because I don't care how good your footwork is.
Yeah, you're going to get popped eventually.
Yes. Now, what happens if Cody Garbrandt lands on Dominic's chin? I think he goes to sleep, man. At least he's on the ground and Cody is just pummeling him.
Yeah, but Cody hits hard.
Oh, I think he hits hardest in the division because he's so confident and he comes forward with reckless abandon and throws everything into it. He hasn't learned to respect his opponent's power yet. I think Dominic.
Because he's still a young guy who can eat a shot. He's at that stage of the career where he's almost invincible.
And that's why he's dangerous.
Yeah, that's why he's dangerous. But you remember the Brian Bowles fight where Cruz took the title.
That's right.
Knocked out Angel.
And Bowles was knocking everybody out.
Bowles was scary, and Cruz's response, Cruz's coach goes, "Don't get hit by him," and Cruz goes, "He's going to be swinging at air." And I think this fight's going to look a lot like the Bowles fight. I think he's going to be swinging at air, chasing Dominic.
Yeah, and I always wonder because every fight is different, and then when you see emotions brought in, Dominic Cruz, there's no fake bone in his body. He's the most competitive person you'll ever meet in your life. I don't think he would want to lose anything. I think he's that competitive. I think that can help you. It can hurt you. We're going to find out. I think Cody's young. He's got that confidence. He knows if he lands, it's a life changer. So this is two studs coming to do battle, and it's either going to be a knockout in the first couple rounds or it's a Dominic Cruz whitewash 5-rounder.
Take him to school, yeah.
That's it. That's it. Hey, I wanted to say hi to your beautiful girlfriend of how many? What is it? Almost 2 years now, isn't it?
Almost 2 years, yep.
So, ladies, even though Joe is this handsome stud, just send me the messages. I will let him know, and we'll all do well, man. So, Joe, thank you, my brother. I'm really looking forward to getting our show rolling. For everybody, just so you know, we've dealt with a lot of issues, all on my end, so just my fault. But we're ready to come at you, and the support is huge. Don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out my man Joe. What's your Twitter address there, my brother?
At JBotch, so JBOTSCH. And I want to extend a sincere congratulations to Dan for getting everything off the ground, and a more sincere thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity. And a shout out to my girlfriend. I love you, sweetheart.
There it is. And I didn't know Joe was talking about me there for a second. So thank you, my brother Joe, and thank you for helping me and helping put this together. You've got the knowledge of an old man like me, and yet you're young and handsome like Joe Bosch. So I can't say enough about you. And listen, guys, don't forget YouTube. Hit it. Go to Fight TV on Roku, Fight TV Plus. Download the app, the Fight TV app. It's really good. There's a lot of content on there. I mean, you can see so much stuff. It's a lot of fun. So, hey, until next week, guys, for Fight TV, for Modern Pugilist Entertainment, for my brother Joe Bosch, I'm Dan Cox. We will see you next time.